Okay, so picture this. What if music had an official rule book? Like you had to follow it. Now, what if some guy came along, looked at that rule book and was just like, nah, I'm good, and ripped out half the pages? Well, that's exactly the story we're diving into today. The story of a musical rebel who completely changed the game.
You know that music? The stuff that sounds like it's straight out of a dream? Or that perfect background track for a movie scene when something big and emotional is about to happen? Yeah, you've heard it. It's probably all over your social media feeds. Well, guess what? That whole vibe, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. Someone had to invent it.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to meet the guy who created that exact sound more than 100 years ago. Let's find out who he was and how in the world he did it.
So the guy's name is Claude Debussy, and chances are you've heard his music a ton of times without even knowing it was him. What's so wild is that he was the one who came up with the whole idea of using music to create a mood, a feeling, instead of just a catchy tune.
Okay, but here's the twist. To become one of the biggest rule breakers of music history, he first had to become a total expert on the rules. I mean, he learned the system inside and out, basically just so he could figure out the perfect way to tear it all down and build something completely new.
So get this, at just 10 years old, he gets into the Paris Conservatoire. This place was basically the ultimate training ground for musicians, like the pro leagues. It's where he learned all the official rules, all the classic moves. But even while he was there, as a student, he was already kind of hacking the system. He was trying out these weird harmonies that made his teachers scratch their heads. It's like he wasn't just learning to play the game, he was figuring out how to mod it.
So to put it into perspective, music before Debussy was, well, it was super structured. Think of it like a video game, where the goal is always just to get from point A to point B. Super predictable, right? But Debussy, he didn't care about just finishing the level. He wanted to explore the world. He was all about the atmosphere, the feeling of being inside the game.
And this quote really nails it. It's totally like he found a cheat code that nobody else knew about. He started putting notes together in ways that, well, they just weren't in the rulebook. And by doing that, he basically unlocked this secret level of sound that no one even knew existed. Okay, so one of his biggest cheat codes was something called the whole tone scale. Now, usually in most music, there's a home bass note that everything kind of revolves around. It feels settled. The whole tone scale, it just throws that idea out the window. It's exactly like music in zero gravity. There's no ground, no up, no down. It just floats. And that is the secret sauce that creates his signature, super dreamy sound.
So with all these new tools in his toolbox, Debussy wasn't just making songs anymore, he was basically painting pictures with sound. And the cool part is, he got a lot of his inspiration from a group of painters who were doing the exact same thing, but, with paint. They were called the Impressionists.
Yeah, think of musical impressionism like an Instagram filter, but for sound. The point isn't to get a super sharp, perfect picture. It's all about creating a vibe, a specific mood. You know the famous painter, Claude Monet? He was all about capturing the feeling of sunlight on water, not every single ripple. Debussy wanted to do that, but with music. He wanted to capture the feeling of nature.
So to pull this off on the piano, he had a few special moves up his sleeve. First, he'd use the pedal to blur all the notes together, creating this awesome wash of sound. Then he'd get rid of those boring, steady beats and use rhythms that felt free and flowed like water. And finally, for some drama, he'd suddenly jump from being super quiet to really loud. It totally keeps you guessing.
All right, so what did all this rule-breaking and experimenting actually create? Well, only some of the most famous pieces of music ever. Let's check out a few of his greatest hits and see these ideas in action. I can almost guarantee you've heard this one, Clair de Lune. It's basically the official anthem for chilling out. That super gentle, flowing melody and those blurry, dreamy harmonies, that's Debussy painting a picture of moonlight. It's pure vibe. Then you've got his Arabesque No. 1. This is where you can really hear those flowing rhythms we were talking about. It's so light and graceful. It honestly sounds like watching little patterns form in the air. It's all about that delicate feeling, that texture, not just a simple melody.
And he didn't just stick to the piano. He took these ideas and went big, like full orchestra big. He wrote a piece called La Mer, which just means the sea, and it is absolutely epic. When you listen to it, it feels like you're literally standing on a cliff watching the ocean go from totally calm and sparkly to a massive, crashing storm. He uses every instrument to paint this huge, incredible picture.
Okay, so here's the most important part. Debussy didn't just write a couple of hit songs, he completely changed the direction music was going. All of his rebellious ideas didn't just break the rules, they ended up becoming the new rules.
And his legacy is just huge. So many composers who came after him were inspired by his freedom to just create. Those weird piano moves he made up, yeah, now they're standard stuff that everyone learns. And that atmospheric sound we talked about at the beginning, you can literally draw a straight line from what Debussy was doing to the soundtracks in your favorite movies and games. The guy who broke all the rules ended up writing the next rule book.
And really, his whole approach can be boiled down to this one idea. For Debussy, music wasn't some kind of math problem that you had to solve to get the right answer. No way. For him, music was all about creating a feeling.
So that kind of leaves us with a big question, right? Debussy proved that sometimes the best way to create something amazing and new is to break the rules, to challenge the way things are supposed to be done. So what about you? What are the rules in your world, in art, in school, in whatever you're passionate about, that are maybe just waiting for someone to break them?